until we hear.
So I was not aware that in South Windermere there are, it's just about a lot. So there's a lot. If it's an older, subdivision, it doesn't have the same setback requirement. It's like grandfathered in.
We'll have to talk.
Yeah.
We're ready. Are we
Yeah.
recording? Okay. Well, welcome to the May 1st Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design meeting. We'll wait for a couple members to join us before we kick this off. They should be here momentarily. But just as a reminder, please turn off your devices, and we are being recorded. So Paula Summers just joined us, so we can have Chairman kick off the intro slides.
Thank you. This is the May 1st, 2024 meeting of the City of Charleston Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design. Present are Ruthie Ravenel, Calvin Yuji, Paula Summers, myself, Joel Adrian. Present from the planning staff is Eric Schultz. These proceedings are being recorded. We ask that those who speak identify themselves for the record. We will conduct this meeting in usual fashion. We will first receive information from city staff about the application and their recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, the matter is uncontested. The board reserves the right to ask questions of staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application or there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested and hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal by the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application. Open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with the conditions, deny, or defer the application. Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design has the authority to do three things. 1, hear appeals to zoning administrator. 2, grant special exceptions, fact-finding function of the board. 3, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54.924 of the ordinance. Board may deliberate, make a final decision on a matter by a majority of vote of members present at the hearing qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum are present qualified to vote. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the use of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance would not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or the public good, and the character of the district not be harmed by the granting of the variance. And with that, we will go to first item. It's going to be item A1, which is a review of the minutes from the March.
So actually, we have last meeting, which was held in March, we had to defer the February 7th meeting minutes. I failed to have them printed out, so I don't mind if we defer those. I can't remember, because I think at this point Ruthie wasn't here.
We didn't have a quorum.
We didn't have a quorum, so I think we're in the same situation. So
blame Amanda, and we'll defer the February 7th, 2024 meeting minutes to the June meeting. And now we will review and make a motion to approve the March 6th, 2024 meeting.
Which I was not attending, so I can.
You weren't there either?
I attended and
Amanda was here, so we will come back to item A1 after Amanda pops in, hopefully.
all right.
So we're gonna put that back. So we'll go to item B1. Item B1 is 31 George Street, 80.5 Society, 84 to 86 Society Streets. Says Peninsula Core. The TMS numbers are 457-04-04007, 008, 025, 112, 113, 117, and 027. Zoned MU-2, WH and GB. requested variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 2 grand trees. And requested variance from section 54-327 to omit the 15 protected trees per acre requirement.
I apologize, I forgot to update the zoning on this slide. So here's the application. It's basically one project, but there's a tree that is a boundary tree, so I had to ask the applicant to include the property owner of the tree in which it shares its trunk with, and that's owned by the beach company, so that's why they're listed here as property owner. And that is 80.5 Society Street, and I'll explain the position of the tree in just a moment, but this is the application. This is their explanation on the hardship test. Here's the properties involved. So as stated, it is MU2WH. It was rezoned a number of years ago. And it does have a little flag lot, if you will, that fronts on King. And it's an assemblage, obviously. Today, it's a surface parking lot with a couple of buildings that front on Society Street, which received BAR demolition, except for one, a partial demolition that I believe they have to preserve a facade on one of the buildings. But the project is a mixed use with a hotel and a multifamily development. So here's just a larger blow up of the. So really dealing with the blue site per se. Here's the aerial. As you can see, it's a surface parking lot with access off of George and Society. And then the Holy Cross Fit is where a tree is located as a boundary tree. Here's the existing condition with the trees marked to be removed. There is a very nice live oak in the northeast corner. You see that as green, and we had the canopy surveyed. I'll touch on that in just a minute, but basically, it's a fairly large project. It's, I believe, received preliminary BAR, conceptual BAR, excuse me. And of course, it went through the demolition process. So again, the residential piece is basically on the north end of the site, and the hotel is on the south side. So you have building A, building B. You do have circulation around the perimeter of the building, not only to access parking garages and some parking spaces associated with the King Street shops, but for fire access as well. I'll touch on the tree, the green tree. It's a very large live oak, very big crown. I had some concerns about going vertical and how it would impact the crown. So they actually removed 8 more feet in that eastern facade of the building. So that's a garage entrance. So we're at a point where I feel comfortable with some pruning is going to be necessary, but it's not taking half the canopy off the tree. The pecan tree, which is grand and a boundary, is number 27 on the eastern boundary. You see it labeled there. Again, a double leader volunteer tree, and you'll see that in just a moment.
I'll say that Amanda Martin has joined the meeting.
Amanda, I'm basically just starting off with B1, and this is the site plan for the proposed residential and hotel project, which is, here's the existing condition, basically a surface parking lot with a building that fronts on Society, which went through the BAR process to get a partial demolition. So they had a consulting arborist go out and evaluate the trees, just confirm their sizes and grand and protected. And again, the 39.5 pecan, number 27, and number 15, the 24-inch magnolia concerned today. Here's just a blow up of how we had the crown canopy surveyed. Then we had the building points, surveyed on the asphalt. We went out city wasn't comfortable with the first notch out, and then they backed it out 8 more feet. The crown is going to require some pruning, but not as severe as initially with the building initially designed. Here's the pecan tree, the fence, and that brick wall, and the property lines are kind of running right down the middle of the trunk. So that's on that 80.5 and then partially on their site. The pecan tree was a planted tree, I believe, in the parking lot design originally. It ended up splitting into two leaders, actually grafted itself with the branch connection there, but 24-inch total. So they went through the effort. You can barely see some ribbons in the trees, but they, based on the re-layout of the building and then using lasers and then working with an arborist and an aerial lift, they went and it's a little deceiving, but there are some small lateral branches that they'll be taking some of the tips back to. So I just wanted to share that with you. So staff recommends approval with the condition to plant 113 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the site. Obviously, it's pretty much dominated by building and circulation, so it's going to be difficult, with the option to make a contribution to the city's street tree program if the inches cannot be satisfied on site. Must use 4-foot chain link fence to provide for that live oak. Must maintain the shown cutout in the eastern facade of the building to accommodate the crown. Must have a certified arborist develop a tree preservation and implement the proposed limited pruning plan for the grand live oak to be preserved on the eastern boundary.
All right, thank you so much, Eric. Is the applicant present? Anybody else present that would like to speak in favor of the application? Or is anybody present that is opposed?
And we received no written comments.
All right. Job might be easy today. We're gonna close this application to the public. We'll open to the board for questions. So Eric, I got it right there. So I don't want to sound really ignorant, but all the trees in green are remaining.
Yes.
Okay. The Baghdadi is number 5 up there.
Number 15 is the magnolia, and then number 27 is the double leader
Oh,
pecan.
yeah. But number 5 is the one that's
Number 5 is a large live oak, growing in a very limited soil volume. They actually, interesting enough, the next door neighbor to the east is a what's it say there? The Barksdale House Inn. So it's a bed and breakfast. They worked out a deal to use their driveway as egress, and they're being cooperative. And you see the crossover with the vehicular into their parking area. And so I made it clear during Tier C and the meetings in that we will not remove the curb line around that tree in the parking lot to not get into its root system. And then basically maybe some milling and overlay to dress up the entire site as a new project, but the asphalt and, so the concern was getting the drill rig in for piles. And that was the exercise we went through, and they notched out the building 8 more feet to get to a comfort level and not severely pruning half the tree off.
Sounds good. Other questions?
So you've met with all the adjacent property owners and they're in favor of the request.
Correct. And as far as the 27-inch peak contract, we've got a tree removal agreement. Each company to remove that tree.
And I know this isn't part of our review, but from the city's perspective, where is all this parking going to be replaced on site or?
So he can speak to that, but so the hotel had to go through a special exception process to get, to get approved to allow the hotel in this location in the peninsular core. And then, of course, the residential component. So it's been through numerous public hearings, and then, of course, BAR, I believe, got conceptual. And after they went for the demolition, that got held up a little bit, I think, the demolition, so they ended up having that unique facade that you see on the building B that fronts on, that's existing kind of condition for that, it's a one-story,
It's got the, it
So-
used to be where Normandy was, right?
I believe it was the bakery. I
And then the
believe.
candy store is the building this side, which hopefully isn't going anywhere.
So anyway, they had to preserve that, and so it's been through numerous with the historic groups and what have you.
Did you have something to add to the
I'd
question?
just like to say that we actually have preliminary BAR approval as well.
Oh, you got preliminary?
Okay.
Okay, preliminary.
And your name for the record?
Clark Patchelder with Coffee County Associates.
Thank you. Any other questions? Motion,
I'll move to approve staff recommendations based on the health of the trees.
is there a second to the motion for approval of staff conditions?
I was second.
Motion for approval, all in favor? I in
Aye.
favor. Any opposed? Approved. 5-0. Thank you. We'll go ahead and go to item B2, then we'll revisit the minutes if that's all right. We'll make them suffer 3 minutes. Item B2 is 1717 Walker Road, West Ashley, the TMS 35015000006, zoned SR1. I request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree.
So we're taking a trip to West Ashley. Guess that would be the western section, western portion of Wapu Road as it meets the Stono River. Here's the application. It's the city park site. So the city is the owner and the applicant. They went through a rezoning, or not a rezoning, a plat exercise to take out the radio tower site and the required stabilization cables and an access. But the remaining portion, as you see there, is zoned SR1 and park. Has a small little structure that will be demolished and then reworked on that portion of the high ground to provide necessary parking and park amenities. So you see it's a fairly large parcel, but very little high ground. Existing access to the radio tower and then the dock. Closer up of the aerial. The grand tree in question is almost due left of the access on the roof ridge of that structure. So here's the existing condition. I'll have a blow up in a minute. You can see just the existing pavement that exists out there from the curb cut and the tree in that little notched out pervious area. It's a double 1524 live oak grade D, and that grading was done by the city arborist. So here is its location in the one frame structure be demolished. Proposed layout plan, shift slightly the driveway to a two-way. Angled parking, loop around, handicap space, and a shelter, 2 shelters. Note here, the dash line approximately 15 feet off the Wapu Road right away. Wapu Road is a class 5 road requiring a 15-foot type A buffer. I'll address that with my conditions. But as you can see, the tree is right in the middle of the drive aisle. Closer up of that layout. You can almost, they have the existing structure and the pavement overlaid or underlaid on this plan. Here's the inspection report, again, done by Mr. David Grant with the city. He's the park and tree administrator. Tree risk certified arborist as well as tree risk qualified. He gave it a grade D for the various reasons. You've got some wounds at the base, a pocket of decay, a branch that has a significant cavity in it. Live oaks are resilient, but it does have some issues. And this is on the other side of the trunk. I just threw in my photos. When I visited the tree, you can actually see through that branch that has the large cavity in it, some daylight behind it. And that bark sloughing off with the cavity, the hole, the very symmetrical hole on the backside. So staff recommends approval with the condition that 39 caliber inches of native canopy trees be planted on the project site, that a 4-foot chain link fence to be used as tree protection barricades. So back to the site design. It went through TRC. I might have missed this, but we allow necessary drives, but no other improvements in the buffer. So you can see that parking, that first parking space, it's relatively close to the throat of the driveway anyway. So they can hopefully shift that down and or eliminate it and shift a couple down, maybe put a golf cart parking space parallel to the buffer line. But my condition is to remove a portion of that parking space out of the buffer. Plant the mitigation as the next generation of live oaks in the Wapu Road buffer. Not saying that they have to be lined up, but scattered and of course, with the overhead power far enough off the easement, and then provide a landscape plan for staff review and approval.
Eric, thank you. Applicants present?
Apparently not.
Anybody here that's opposed? All right,
Yeah, me.
okay.
My name is Chad Walton. I live just down the road from this park at 148 Wapu Road. One, this design isn't what the city proposed and showed all the citizens in that area at any of the like town hall meetings they had where we got to review the plans. It's definitely been altered. Two, there's nobody else here today because the posting for this hearing was not even 72 hours ago at the property. And everybody that we've been texting, telling about this hearing had no idea about it, and they didn't have time to make arrangements to be here to object to this. But if you are to look back at the city's town hall meetings, you'll see that an overwhelming majority of the citizens that live within a square mile of where this park is proposed to be built object to this park. They object to what's going to be there. They object to taking down of these grand trees and whatnot. And it's very concerning that they're going to post something and try to rush it along under the radar of all the people that have been objecting to it over the past 4 or 5 years that they've been trying to build this park.
Okay.
So I recommend, if I will, that I'm surprised that we don't have a rep from the Parks Department. Speaking to the posting, I personally did it. And all I could do is probably timestamp, but that's my truck. It was done, the state law requires that it's done 5 days prior to the meeting date.
Wasn't 5 days because I live right down the road and every day off shift I drive by there. And
So
that sign was posted at some point Monday, right behind the sign for the Greek festival that I have seen for the past week and a half.
it was posted Friday. It was posted Friday. And yes, I did use that post and I did not move the Greek sign. There was the available post to staple the sign on. So that's that's neither here or there, but I hear your concern. So it was posted and met the state requirement. Yeah, I have not attended any of the park meetings with the neighborhood. And so I don't know the evolution of the design and how it's different from what they saw. So I will make it very clear to the parks staff that there was concern about it. And I think I would recommend that the board just defers until they regroup.
All right, is there a motion for deferral?
I make a motion to defer.
Second.
All in favor of motion for deferral? In favor, any opposed? It's been deferred. So do you want to explain like the deferral process? This could
Yeah,
go
so
up
what
again
will
next
happen
month.
is obviously I want to get with Parks first thing tomorrow morning. You know, they have a consultant working, it's not an in-house design.
Yeah.
But we were both the applicant and the the owner. So I will get with the director of parks and figure out why the project manager wasn't here and their consultant and voice the concerns that I just heard. And so what will happen is I will suggest that they get back with the community to show this design, since I'm hearing that it differed from what they presented to y'all. Could you explain just how much different? Was it, do you recall?
The like circle
Uh-huh,
is a little bit different. The way the parking is laid out is a little bit different from what we've seen at, and I've been to at least 2, I think 3 of the meetings for this proposed park.
okay,
I think there've been 4 since like 2017, 18, somewhere around there.
okay,
But it's definitely a little bit different. I think the structures, that's really the first I'm hearing about these structures. When they were talking before, they were highlighting the docks. And they weren't putting a lot of focus really on the parking and whatnot, but it has definitely been tweaked a little bit from what
Very
we've
good.
seen about a year and a half ago
Right.
at last.
So I can state that there's a process in which this project has to go through internally with the city, and it's called the Technical Review Committee. So it's been to that committee. So based on maybe some comments that they received from different departments that drove some of the tweaks, I'm not sure. Again, I just received the application and processed it through our Board of Zoning Appeals process. So very interesting. Well, I thank you for coming out and being concerned, and we'll
I assume we'll see another blue sign.
there will be. So it was posted in the paper 15 days. So I can't remember that exact date that it was under public notices. It has to meet a 15-day requirement there, and then the site has to be posted 5 days prior.
I think it's important, Eric, to note, for him to go back to the community that, it's already been rezoned. Is that accurate?
Oh, no, it's SR1.
It's SR1,
Yeah, it's
okay.
right. Yeah.
But it's an existing site, was the old radio station, and we only look at specifically the trees,
right.
the buffers, setbacks off of
Critical.
OCRM critical lines. So our scope is really narrow. So,
No worries.
All right,
We'll look for another sign.
And just for the record again, I'm sure, what was your name again?
Chadwell.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
thank you, Chad.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, so now we're gonna go back and visit the minutes. Leave. We have a quorum for February 7th. It's
I was not in attendance.
oh. You were-
I was.
You were.
I
okay.
feel like I
Kelvin.
was.
All right, so we do.
Yeah.
All right.
I was here
So-
for March.
Review of the February 7th minutes. Is there anything?
When we go back, you can take a brief look at them. So we had 1310 DuPont Road
Oh,
and
yeah.
804 Orleans. That was the hotel. If you recall, the Bees Ferry and West Ashley Circle, that was a mixed use.
I wasn't. I don't see my name up there. So
So we had Joel, Amanda, Jeff, and Ruthie at that one. That is correct, yes.
Yep.
So I guess
Again,
yeah.
deferred.
Yeah. Deferred, so.
Oh, you're so close.
Deferred again.
All right, so
I know.
February 4th is deferred.
How about our March 6th meeting? It's
We're good for that.
March 6th, we had Joel, Amanda, Paula, Kelvin. That was the
All right,
Royal
we can
Palm.
vote on this. All right, so we had two approvals. Are any questions on the minutes, or is there a motion for approval?
Motion, move to approve.
Second,
All in favor? I in favor. Any opposed?
I abstain.
All right, it's 4-0. Those are approved. We got one down. Maybe before December, we'll get March taken, or February taken care of. I guess meeting's adjourned.
A meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
so the
Eric, thank
meeting
you.
is shorter by 10 minutes than the amount of time that it takes me to get here from Riverland Terrace anymore at this time of day. All I'm saying.
I don't know what was.
Sounds like we